Hello everyone, and welcome back to That's on My PC. Today we're going to be looking at somewhat of an oddity from Atari. As I may have mentioned before, one of my favourite games of all time was Stuntman on the PlayStation 2, released in 2002 and developed by Reflection Studios. However, the sequel was actually published by THQ and developed by Paradigm Studios in 2007, after Atari had sold the rights of the Stuntman franchise to THQ. With this foresight in mind, was Atari looking to create a spiritual successor franchise to Stuntman without the Stuntman name? Enter Crashday, a racing stunt destruction game with a track editor and somewhat of a career mode. Was the creation of this game used to soften the blow of the loss of the Stuntman franchise, or was it simply a coincidence? Here I intend to find out. Now, the first thing that has to be mentioned is that Crashday feels much more like a Destruction Derby game than a dedicated stunt game, with many different modes and challenges the player can choose from the start. Derbies with missiles and rockets, point-to-point races, stunt point challenges, and other mini-games are on offer to the player from the beginning. There's also a rather curious career mode with some of the worst voice-acted accents I think I've ever heard.
In the Crashday League, when an ignition key was turned, more cash burned up in a second than my wife can spend in a year. You know what I'm talking about. Give a woman a credit card, and before you know it, all your money's gone down the drain.
Also included is a track editor, which in my opinion is probably the best part of the game. Many different stunt toys and track pieces are available to choose, and the player can create a variety of scenarios which can then be played. Unfortunately, I seem to have a few issues with the game. Using an Xbox 360 controller was a challenge in itself, with weird default bindings, counterintuitive menu control, and the ability to use the triggers for anything. Because of the issues I had remapping the buttons, I missed out one of the crucial core components of the game. Whilst doing the career missions, I kept missing out and losing despite putting in decent driving performances. I kept wondering why until in a loading screen I discovered that there's a boost in this game, and that I hadn't remapped it to my controller. Dull. It didn't help anyway, as I found out when I tried the checkpoint race again. The standard cop car that the player gets from the start is easily one of the worst beginner cars I've ever used in a video game. Yes, you can upgrade it to make it better, but with continuous losing streaks, it seems very repetitious to keep doing the same free events over and over just to make measly cash for upgrades. Then again, I could just suck. So what do I think overall? Well, it's certainly quite fun in its own way, with the destruction and track editor being the highlights for me specifically. However, the controls feel less than stellar, and while the game can slightly be forgiven for its lack of proper controller support, being from 2005 of course, it isn't any easier to control via the keyboard either, leaving a little to be desired. On top of that, the difficulty seems quite high, especially for the amateur levels, with ruthless AI and little room for error. Was the game Atari's answer to selling the Stuntman franchise? From the looks of it, I would have said not. The game feels much more like Flat Out than anything else relating to the drive/stunt genre. Overall, I feel that it's worth a look at, if not for any reason, just to see what it is. Especially if you picked it up from a CEX for 50p. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all next time on That's on My PC. Ciao!